Have one of those moments where someone's standing in front of you talking down like you're dirt, just radiating "I own the world" energy. And you realize, oh, they have no clue. They just made the worst mistake of their life. Yeah. That was Brenda, president of the Pinnacle Ridge HOA Heels, clicking across my family's mountain, sneering at my busted truck and threatening to call the cops on white trash. On land I owned, including her own precious house. My name's Cole Brennan. I'm a mechanic, real working hands, 3 months behind on rent, the kind of guy you wouldn't pick out of a lineup unless you needed your alternator swapped. 3 days after my grandpa Ezra passed, I drove 12 hours straight from Ohio to Colorado to settle his estate. Thought I'd find a rundown cabin, maybe sell it off to cover his funeral, scrape together enough to keep the lights on another month. But here's the kicker, my grandpa didn't just leave behind old mugs and faded survey maps. He left a secret. When I first walked into that cabin, it was like time stopped. Smelled of pine sap and old leather sunbeams catching dust in the air, everything just sitting there, his mug still on the table, glasses folded up beside yellowed hand-drawn maps from the 1940s. He'd been the surveyor who mapped out this whole area back in '52. Back then, people thought he was crazy for buying 300 acres of what was basically nothing but elk trails and pine trees. Ezra's big mistake, the family used to call it, joking about how he'd wasted everything. Turns out he was the only one playing the long game. I was elbows deep in receipts and old photos when I heard the crunch of gravel outside. Cue the entrance, Brenda. 50-something plastic perfect hair, massive sunglasses, driving a Range Rover worth more than I'd make in 3 years. She strutted up the porch like she was starring in her own reality show, snapping out, "Excuse me, sir," in a voice so fake British, I almost laughed. Introduced herself as Brenda Kensington Walsh, HOA president, here to protect property values. Flashed her acrylic nails over a clipboard full of violation forms. "That eyesore truck has to go," she declared. "We have standards here." And then she hit me with it. "My husband works for the county assessor's office. We know exactly what this place is worth, not much compared to our community standards." She couldn't help herself. She had to flex. But what she didn't know, every single one of those 847 homes, those pristine McMansions she lorded over, were built on land my family still owned ever since 1952. The management company had been collecting $12,000 a month in lease payments that should have come to us for the last 15 years. Brenda was living like royalty off money stolen from my inheritance while my grandfather died, thinking we'd lost it all. All I said to her was, "I'll handle the truck." She slapped a violation notice into my hands, threatened me with $500 daily fines if I didn't comply, then wished me luck, fitting in better than my grandfather did. As she rolled away, I stood there with the wind howling through the pines, realizing 15 years, 847 homes, millions of dollars. If I could prove it, I could set the rent, triple it even. But first I needed Grandpa's safe. Next morning I woke up to sirens. 2 deputies on my porch, Brenda in her Range Rover smirking like a villain with a remote. She says, "You threatened her, Mr. Brennan." I explained I'd told her I'd handle the truck. "That's threatening." Deputy Martinez, name tag shining, just shrugged, embarrassed. Brenda had also reported I didn't have the legal right to be there. "Officers, I inherited this 3 days ago. I've got the deed and Grandpa's death certificate inside." Martinez nodded, a little too relieved. Turns out Dennis Walsh, Brenda's husband, had been signing off on artificially lowering the property value since 2005, making the taxes so low it flew under everyone's radar. Total scam. I wouldn't have found it without a little help from Mrs. Opal, the town librarian, probably born during the Eisenhower administration, sharper than anyone I've ever met. She walked me through the yellowed county records, showing how Dennis had been running this grift for years. "This is fraud," she whispered. If Brenda tried to claim squatters' rights, these faked tax records would blow her case up in court. I called a property lawyer, Janet Torres, in Denver. She didn't even hesitate. "Quiet title lawsuit immediately. You can challenge every transfer, force them all into court." Brenda, meanwhile, went to Facebook war, running a group called Protect Pinnacle Ridge from Undesirable Elements. Her campaign was all doorbell videos of me walking to my mailbox and paranoid speculation about what I might do next. Sheriff Martinez, her brother-in-law, started wellness checks. Brenda was running out of patience, but not out of dirty tricks. Dennis Walsh escalated, dumping construction debris all over my land, tried to make it look like an environmental hazard. but I'd already installed trail cameras. I got him on video clear as day, dumping trash where my grandfather used to watch elk graze. Then Buck Martinez, hardware store owner, came by. "You need to know what she's been doing to local businesses, son." Brenda was running a protection racket, shaking down every shop in town for donations or else. Building code violations would magically appear for anyone who didn't pay. And then Buck gave me the biggest piece of the puzzle. "You know that mountain road? It's the only way in and out for every house up here, and it runs through your family's land." I spent all night tracing survey maps, realizing I didn't just own the land, I owned their only access to civilization. Real leverage. That's when Brenda panicked and tried the nuclear option. She called in federal agencies, claimed my property was protected wetlands to trigger government seizure. I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was ready to choke off every escape route. Next morning, Brenda and her big shot lawyer show up at my door with a 1955 agreement that's so obviously fake. It mentioned zip codes, a thing that didn't even exist until the 60s. Her lawyer fidgeted while I pointed out the errors. Then I took it to Janet, who laughed so hard she almost spilled her coffee. "We're calling the FBI," she said. Turns out Brenda had been running this scam for years under different names. Simpson Morrison, same playbook, different counties, always targeting old folks, always forging documents. Now it was federal mail fraud, serious time. Finally, I cracked Grandpa's safe. Inside, wrapped in oiled leather, was the real 1952 agreement, every legitimate lease, and a reversion clause. If lease payments stopped for more than 60 days, all improvements revert to the landowner. No payments since 2005. That meant every single home, every fence, every driveway, legally mine. My lawyer's jaw dropped. You could evict every single family in that subdivision, the largest residential seizure in Colorado history. But standing out on the porch watching kids catch the school bus, I knew Grandpa wouldn't want that. Janet had another idea: file the claim, but use it as leverage. Make a fair deal for honest families, push out the crooks, fix what Brenda broke. I spent the weekend meeting neighbors, making offers, $50,000 per lot, 10-year plans, no more, HOA shakedowns. They cried, they hugged me, people who'd suffered for years under Brenda's thumb. Meanwhile, my cameras caught Brenda's hired goons trying to sabotage my cabin in the middle of the night, caught her on a recorded line ordering it, even caught her plotting insurance fraud to stage a fake emergency. The town finally turned against her after she attacked Buck's store. Folks started talking, sharing stories, even spray-painted "thief" on her top supporter's garage. News crews showed up, the FBI moved in, and Dennis finally flipped, handing over everything. Brenda, desperate, tried to flee the country with $847,000 in cash, almost exactly $1,000 for each house she'd ruled over. She didn't get far. FBI arrested her at the airport. IRS came for the rest. Her empire crumbled overnight. The next week, I called a town hall meeting, standing room only, every news crew in Denver crowding the back. I laid it all out, the real documents, the scam, the fake security fees, the whole ugly story. Brenda, on bail, burst in mid-presentation, screaming about slander. Agent Kim from the FBI stepped forward and arrested her on the spot. The whole room erupted, applause, cheers, a few happy tears. Justice right there in front of everyone. 6 months later, Pinnacle Ridge is a different world. The new Democratic HOA cut fees by 60% and actually improved services. Property values went up. Families finally owned their land. The Range Rover payments were over. I used the settlement money to start a scholarship fund in Grandpa's name, sent 23 local kids to college this year. We turned 400 acres into a nature preserve, elk and kids both running free. And me, I opened my own honest auto shop with Buck, as my landlord found love with Sarah, the local journalist who helped blow this case open. And every morning I see Grandpa's compass on my kitchen table, his final journal entry reminding me, someday someone will make this right. Sometimes justice takes decades. Sometimes it comes all at once. But here's the thing. You see what unchecked power and greed can do. You see how quickly one person's corruption can poison a whole community until someone stands up and says, enough. Now folks in Texas are reaching out about their own HOA nightmare, another Brenda, another fight. Feels like maybe this mountain wind can blow away a few more of these Karens before it's over. So what would you have done? Would you have pushed the nuclear button? Is there a line between justice and revenge, between protecting your own and destroying what someone else built, even if it was stolen? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me your take on what's fair, what's right, what's too far. And hey, if you've ever stared down a Brenda in your life, let's hear your story. This world could use a little more justice and a little less HOA drama, don't you think?
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.